Episode 4. A whisper of conspiracy, a roar of revelation. 1. Gathering the artifacts. Within a month, an unprecedented international collaboration took shape, codenamed Project Enigma. Felicia Morales and Dr. Fang served as scientific leads, coordinating with experts on 5 continents. Delgado handled logistics and security arrangements, while Carmen networked with local anthropologists and linguists to ensure cultural respect at each site. From the Tibetan Plateau to the Indonesian rainforests, from the deserts of Mexico to the remote mountain ranges of Mongolia, teams fanned out. Robots like Atlas, Vega, Sierra, Nova, and newly introduced units, Rhea and Prometheus, assisted with retrieval. By mid-October 2040, a total of 9 confirmed artifacts had been collected. Each one was strikingly similar, yet bore slight variations in fractal patterns, as if each were a puzzle piece. All 9 were sent to high-security labs in 3 locations: Cusco, Peru, home of the Quantum Eye; Zurich, Switzerland, housing the Aurora Quantum Supercluster; and Kyoto, Japan, with the Fujin Quantum mainframe. The encryption efforts proceeded around the clock. 2. The culmination at the Quantum Eye. Felicia found herself back in Cusco, heading a combined research team at the Quantum Eye lab. Security protocols had tightened significantly. Armed guards patrolled the perimeter, and the lab's corridors bristled with scanning devices. The artifacts themselves were encased in vacuum-sealed, magnetically shielded containment vessels. Each artifact was labeled by the site of discovery: PER-1, Peru; TIB-1, Tibet; IND-1, Indonesia; PNG-1, Papua New Guinea; MON-1, Mongolia; MEX-1, Mexico, and so on. "We'll be introducing them into the quantum decryptor one at a time," Dr. Alvarez explained during a briefing. "Then we'll attempt to combine partial data sets, hoping they unlock each other like interlaced keys." At the heart of the lab stood the Quantum Eye, a massive, spherical chamber that housed the superconducting qubits, enabling advanced entanglement computations. Rows of scientists manned consoles, with AI systems assisting in real-time data analysis. Delgado, standing next to Felicia, couldn't help but be awed by the scale of the operation. "This is bigger than I ever imagined. Feels like a scene out of a science fiction movie." Felicia nodded. "Yet, here we are, trying to crack the biggest mystery of our time." "Initiating sequence," announced a lab technician, "preparing TIB-1 for quantum link-up." Within minutes, the fractal lines on TIB-1 began to glow faintly under the scanning beams. Readouts flooded the screens with partial code sequences, more complex than any standard encryption scheme. Then they switched to IND-1, analyzing how it interlaced. Bits of data began to fill a central repository. Fang stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We're getting something," he said, pointing to a screen. "A partial map of wave function equations, possibly referencing geospatial coordinates." One by one, the artifacts were scanned, their quantum data flowing into the system. The final piece, MEX-1, was introduced last. "Decryption threshold at 80%, a technician called out. "We're reaching synergy in the datasets." The entire lab hushed. Felicia glanced around, heart pounding, as lines of code transformed into visual patterns. Suddenly, a window of text began scrolling, written in an unknown language, part pictographic, part symbolic code. The system tried to auto-translate, but could only produce fragments. Time, circle, not alone, return, gateway. A hush fell as everyone exchanged confused and anxious looks. "Could this refer to some cyclical event?" Delgado asked. "Or a doorway, some kind of portal," Fang ventured. The text stream ended abruptly, replaced by a single string of symbols. Then, as if triggered by a hidden command, each artifact blinked out of sync and the lab's power supply dipped momentarily. We have a system fluctuation, Alvarez cried. Backup generators online. All teams stand by. Screens flickered. One of the robotic arms that held Mex 1 retracted abruptly, almost as if forced by an unseen hand. Then the lights stabilized and the data feed cut off. What just happened? Felicia asked, her voice tense. It's like a failsafe kicked in, Fang said. As soon as the partial code was revealed, the artifacts shut down or changed state. We can't read them anymore. Alvarez, breathing heavily, nodded at a set of final readouts. We got only a fraction, but it's enough to form a partial narrative. A mention of an impending event, something about cyclical cosmic alignment, and references to multiple gateways. This could be astronomical, like an alignment of planets or celestial bodies. Or something else entirely, Felicia added. But we're dealing with a countdown. The code references a time frame. Maybe soon. They had more questions than answers, yet an urgency now gripped the research team. Something was going to happen, and the artifacts were either a warning or a key. 3. The conspiracy unfolds. While the scientists scrambled to make sense of the partial data, the intelligence and security agencies involved in Project Enigma began their own investigations. Rumors spread of break-ins at labs housing the artifacts. A black market demand arose for any information related to them. A shadowy group, whispered to be a rogue corporate or government faction, seemed determined to claim the devices for themselves. Felicia noticed men and women in dark suits lurking in the corridors of the Quantum Eye lab, scanning ID badges and asking pointed questions. Delgado confided that he'd been approached by someone offering money in exchange for details on the artifacts. They're calling themselves the Sentinels of the Watch, or something like that, Delgado told Felicia, pulling her aside in a quiet hallway. They claim these artifacts are harbingers of an alien invasion, and they want to keep it secret until they can develop countermeasures. Sounds paranoid, Felicia whispered, shaken. We have no hard evidence of an alien threat. People are scared. The unknown can bring out all sorts of conspiracy theories, Delgado said. We just need to focus on the facts. But the tension was palpable. Global news outlets, picking up scraps of rumors, began running sensational stories about alien relics in ancient tombs. Governments issued vague denials. Online forums exploded with doomsday speculation. Meanwhile, Dr. Alvarez received an encrypted message from the Zurich lab. They had discovered a new line of code hidden deep in the Mex 1 artifact's data, referencing a location in the southwestern United States. It points to the Four Corners region, Alvarez explained in an urgent phone call. The cryptographers there think it might be the site of another artifact or a final clue. We have to investigate, Felicia said. Time could be running out. Thus, it was decided. Felicia, Delgado, Fang, and Carmen would converge in the Four Corners area, a region where Arizona, Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico meet. The next piece of the puzzle lay somewhere within that desert landscape. Fourth Desert Pursuit. Within days, the core team arrived in a small town on the Navajo Nation reservation. The early winter sun cast long shadows across the rugged mesas and red rock formations. Old highways stretched out in ribbons, dotted by tumbleweeds and occasional roadside diners. Local rumor hinted at a newly found cave in a remote canyon with ancient petroglyphs that matched some of the glyphs in the decrypted code. The Navajo elders mentioned it quietly, wary of outsiders. Still, Felicia and the group gained their trust through respectful negotiation and the promise to preserve any cultural artifacts. Guided by a Navajo ranger named John Begay, they set off in off-road vehicles, eventually abandoning them for a rugged hike through canyons carved by millennia of wind and water. The landscape was breathtaking. Red sandstone cliffs, narrow washes, and hidden alcoves. The place you're looking for is up ahead, John said, pointing to a towering rock formation. Locals call it Tsegahudzani, a name associated with strange legends. Usually, we leave it alone. Deep in a winding canyon, they found a cave entrance half hidden by collapsed boulders. Squeezing through the gap, they emerged into a cavern illuminated by cracks in the ceiling. Petroglyphs lined the walls, spiral shapes, animals, and something resembling star constellations. Carmen gasped. These symbols, they're similar to the partial translations we have from the artifacts. Then we're on the right track, Fang said, scanning the walls with Sierra drone. Felicia approached a large spiral carving. Her heart pounded at the similarity to the fractal lines on the quantum devices. Look here. She traced a set of lines leading to a recessed alcove in the cave's wall. Something might have been hidden inside. Atlas stepped forward, shining a built-in spotlight. In that alcove, they saw a smooth depression in the rock, evidence that an object had once been placed there. Traces of metallic residue gleamed faintly. It's empty, Delgado observed. We're too late. Suddenly, Fang's scanner beeped. He glanced at the readout, eyes widening. There's a strong electromagnetic signal emanating from below us, about 30 meters down, under the cavern floor. The team exchanged looks. Could there be another artifact buried underground? If so, they needed to get to it. But how? Let's see if there's another passage, Felicia suggested. They split up, carefully exploring the cavern. Nova drone discovered a narrow tunnel behind a rock slide. Atlas and Delgado worked to clear the rubble, while Carmen, Fang, and Felicia stood guard. Everyone, hush, Carmen suddenly whispered. Footsteps echoed behind them. A flicker of light. Figures with flashlights and advanced gear appeared at the cave entrance, wearing no recognizable insignia. One of them aimed a device that jammed the drone's signals momentarily. Another barked an order in a language Felicia couldn't identify. They must be after the artifact, Fang said, tensing up. Delgado and Atlas hurriedly cleared the last rocks. This way, hurry, Delgado called. In the confusion, the unknown group advanced. Two of them brandished firearms. Shots ricocheted off the cavern walls, sending dust and rock fragments into the air. Felicia's heart thundered. They dove into the newly revealed tunnel just in time, with Atlas blocking incoming fire. We have to move, Delgado yelled. They scrambled down a steep passage lit by the drone's emergency lights, the walls narrowing until they reached an underground chamber. The floor was slick with moisture, and in the center, half buried in sediment, lay something metallic, glinting faintly in the drone light. That must be it, Carmen said, breathless. Atlas and Vega scanned the object. It was reminiscent of the other artifacts, but larger, shaped like a curved shell with more crystalline nodules. This one seemed inactive, buried for who knew how long. I'm reading a massive quantum signature, Fang reported, voice trembling with excitement. This could be the final piece that completes the code. But footsteps clattered behind them. The mysterious group had caught up. One man in black tactical gear lunged forward, brandishing a stun baton. Delgado tackled him, knocking the baton aside. Another fired a shot that sparked off the cavern wall, dangerously close to Felicia. Carmen grabbed Felicia's arm. We have to get the artifact out of here. With Atlas's help, they lifted the device. It was surprisingly light for its size, a testament to advanced metamaterials. They retreated further into the tunnel, guided by a scanning route. Delgado and Fang provided cover, using handheld stun guns to fend off the attackers. The chase led them into a labyrinth of twisting passages. In the darkness, the artifact glowed faintly, as if responding to the adrenaline-fueled chaos. Eventually, they found a route leading back to the surface, emerging onto a ledge halfway up the canyon wall. Wind whipped at them, the desert sun blinding. They could hear more gunfire echoing from below. Hastily, they secured ropes and rappelled down the cliff, cradling the artifact in a harness strapped to Atlas. By the time they reached the canyon floor, John Begay and a team of local rangers, alerted by the commotion, swooped in, forcing the attackers to withdraw. Gasping for breath, Felicia looked at the metallic shell they had risked their lives to secure. It pulsed faintly, as if alive. She couldn't help but feel that they were mere pawns in a far larger game, orchestrated by unseen hands. 5. Uncovering the next level. Safely back at a secured lab in Flagstaff, Arizona, the team wasted no time analyzing the newly acquired artifact, labeled USA-1. Using portable quantum scanners, Fang discovered that it contained a more extensive data set than all previous artifacts combined. "This might be the master key," he said, eyes lit with an almost feverish excitement. "If we integrate it with the 9 others, we could crack the entire code." However, the scans also revealed something else, a set of cryptic instructions about an impending cosmic event referencing precise astronomical coordinates. The data pointed to a date, just weeks away, where Earth would align with a cluster of cosmic phenomena, possibly a meteor shower or a solar-lunar synergy. "What does it mean?" Carmen wondered aloud. "A catastrophe? A gateway opening? We're still guessing." Felicia rubbed her temples, the puzzle pieces swirling in her mind. "All we know is that these devices were planted to guide us here. And now we have a date." Delgado paced the room. "We should reconvene at Cusco or one of the other main labs, unify the data with the full computing power. Time's running out." They made arrangements, reaching out to Dr. Alvarez and the Global Consortium. Security would be paramount. The group that attacked them in the canyon was likely just one of many factions desperate to control the artifacts. As they prepared to leave, Felicia found a moment to stand alone with the artifact. She placed a hand on its cool surface, feeling a silent hum beneath her fingertips. "What are you?" she whispered, half hoping for an answer. In that moment, the hum seemed to intensify, or perhaps it was her imagination. Yet, deep down, Felicia sensed that the final revelation, whatever it was, would be more mind-bending and unexpected than any of them could predict. And so, with hearts pounding and minds brimming with questions, they journeyed back into the unknown, anticipating a climax that promised either illumination or chaos.